we decided to go back to church on Easter. It was the first time that I had been back since the car crash, because physically I just couldn't stand to sit there. I really wasn't ready physically to go back to church and sit for an hour. But I desperately wanted to get back to the normal of things. And Easter was a time, it was time of celebration, and I just wanted some kind of normalcy. Well, of course, the first time we decided to go back, I'm in a wheelchair. It's a holiday, church is packed, and there was enough seats in the very first pew for 4 of us. And then Greg and one of our daughters had to sit a couple pews behind us. And I sat on the very end of the pew, and I did pretty decent until it was about communion time. I had forgotten to bring a cushion because I was so thin at that time. Like, sitting down, you could hear my sacrum grind on the wood bench. So I took one of the kids' coats and sat on it to kind of cushion that. And about that time, I was thinking, man, why didn't I not take a pain pill before I came here? That was so not smart. But when communion came, we were very integrated into our church community. And with me sitting on the very end of the pew, when people started passing us as they came up and took communion from the priest, they would walk across and they would take their sip of wine. And as they would pass me, each person, they would put their hand on my shoulder and they would squeeze. And I, for some reason, didn't want to look at people, which, I mean, we're taught, when people take communion, don't stare at people. It's the time of reflection and prayer. And I didn't want to look at people either, because I didn't want to see the pity on their face. Oh, I hate pity. I hate it. I, at that point, allowed pity to make me feel inferior, and I didn't want that. So I was looking down at my feet when I felt the first squeeze on my shoulder. And I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe somebody behind me was trying to get my attention, and I looked up, and they, did that smile. And I shook my head and I said, okay. And the next person did it. And the next. And the next. And the next. And everyone that went by me put a hand on my shoulder without saying a word. I felt my entire church community telling me how much they cared about me, my family, my healing, and how they just wish this never would have happened. And they wish healing for all of us. It was the most unbelievable moment. Unbelievable. The amount that my heart exploded. And after so many, of course, one silent tear came down my cheek. And then another silent tear came down. And before long, it was just weeping. I mean, just very silent, quiet tears. And I thought, how unbelievable. How unbelievably fortunate my family and I are to have a community that cares about us so much. And in that moment, with no words spoken, were able to show me just how deeply they care. And I have held that moment with me in so many dark times. And I have tried to repay that moment back to my community as often as I possibly can. Every time that there's an opportunity, I make sure that I repay that moment, because I am so unbelievably grateful for the kindness and just the heartfelt compassion that everyone has had for us during such a long and trying time.